You did a great speech at KetcherCon talking about throwing and the evolution of throwing, and obviously now that it's more important with in the at the highest levels of you add the pitch clock and you add some of these rule changes, the pickoffs and things like that, but it's really never changed as to how important it is at the lower levels because we obviously are running, players running a lot more at the lower levels. So talk to me a little bit about. I loved the chart that you had on how to calculate accuracy, basically throwing accuracy. Talk a little bit about that chart, and then talk a little bit about what you're doing to kind of train players to the chart in terms of what you're trying to accomplish there.
Yeah, so in professional baseball, we're extremely fortunate to have these elaborate reports that show us really anything that you want as far as the numbers go. But the chart basically has, where are we receiving, making ball strikes or strike balls, blocks, where are we making them, where are we missing them, and then throwing opportunities, where are we catching and transferring them. Then at the bottom it shows, first baseman, second baseman, and a third baseman, just like a silhouette of them on the base. And part of that presentation was showing that 1 to 3 feet off of the ground and 2 to 4 feet on the first base side of second base is our optimal throwing zone. So we can line guys up there to have their ball, that's their target now to throw. And B, we can start to look at those charts over the course of 5, 6, 10 games and see where our most likely misses, and then reverse engineer why is that? Is it a grip? Is it a arm pass? Is it a footwork thing? Then dive deeper on it and help diagnose the issue or applaud the positive of, we're making a lot of accurate throws. Keeping some sort of record on it.
So we obviously know we're going to have some sort of, movement to this ball, right? I mean, it takes a super special thrower when you see those guys that just throw those like ropes on a line. Mm-hmm. But the idea being we're going to get a little run. So are you taking that into consideration in terms of the target line or, where we're trying to throw this thing?
I think it depends on the guy. You mentioned the guys that just throw the BB to second base. And then you have, maybe it's a lower arm slot and you get a little more arm side fade. I think it depends on your guy, and also knowing age levels. In the major leagues, they're fortunate enough to have replay where if we tag them on the foot and they haven't reached the bag, then he's still out. But at your younger levels, that's not the case. Mm-hmm. Umpires have a hard job. I don't want to rag on them, but
they suck.
Skill level, well, the whole goal is to make a fool out of them, right?
Yeah. Well, it's like that's not taking anything away from them, but it doesn't mean they're good. If they were good, they wouldn't be doing those games, right?
That's fair. But how are we setting up our infielders to be able to make a tag? It's the biggest part of it, because at the end of the day, we want an out, and that helps our team win.
So where are you setting those guys up? Are they in the same spot every time, or are you focusing on different catchers are going to have different aim points, or we're trying to get everybody that same aim point and this is where the guy goes?
I think it's the end. Where does the ball finish? And then from there, if your arm side guy is missing, 10 feet up the line, we got to adjust his sights there. And if we can have a clear external target for him, and then kind of let him figure out what does he need to do to get that ball there.
So tell me about where the infielder is setting up on that.
I would prefer the infielder to be even with the baseline, because our ball is always going to travel faster than our hand. So let that infielder work his tag straight down, ideally. But we start working up the line, and it makes it harder for him to straddle. So then he has to come in front. But if we get them to straddle the bag to start, then be able to adjust off of that, depending on where our throw is. Because we're not robots, we're going to miss. But having straddle as the starting point, and then letting him adjust either in front or stay there.
So on the throwing piece, you guys obviously, and you've got a total array here because you're a professional coach, but I know you also work with younger kids in the off season and things like that. So talk a little bit about what you're doing to train throwing. Cause we've, we talk, I think, a little bit too much, especially at the younger ages, on mechanics, and we're trying to create a little bit more athleticism. Tell me some things you're doing. I know I stole a couple drills from you from that presentation on that. Talk a little bit about what you're trying to create with, maybe younger throwers and how to get a little bit more of their, I guess, just like natural ability out of them.
Hmm. Well, I stole a few from you too, but so how are we creating an environment to where they have to react to game-like situations? Not every throw that we get, or not every pitch that we throw on is a fastball right down the middle. So creating some athleticism, whether it's football throws and they're doing a three-step drop, or maybe it's a rollout, or the Jeter jump throw. Um, those kinds of things where we can organize drills to allow them to be athletes and still make an accurate throw. And then as we get more specific into catching, putting them in situations where they have to get to a good throwing position out of some unconventional areas. One of the drills that I'd use at CatcherCon was like duck walks. If you're be the pitcher as the coach, and you pitch as they're duck walking to you. All right, now they're duck walking away from you, or they're going left or going right. Just creating an environment where they have to solve problems and then let their natural athleticism emerge. A lot of elite throwers, it's not a cookie cutter thing, but they all follow certain principles. And as long as your thrower is abiding by those principles and staying healthy and making good throws, then let those individual differences flourish.
I love that. And I think, it's actually, when we had John Baker on here, it was like talking more about external cues. And I loved that, where it was like, now I'm kind of taking like, the younger guys and I'm like, hey, there's your target. Like, get in and out as fast as you can. Let's just see what that is, And
Hmm.
obviously we're going to have guys that we've got to fix and move and create some drills that allow them to have a cleaner arm path or a better connection to the ground or whatever it is. But man, dude, like the more I think about it, it's like I just feel like guys are coached out of their ability to throw at a younger age these days. That it's like I'm just trying to, spread the word to youth coaches and things like that. Like no throwing drills, like just athleticism. Like have them run around and throw and let them be natural with it.
Yeah, I think you mentioned coaching out of. I think one big thing that we coach out of guys is the transfer. You watch elite transfer guys. I think I found one that consistently had their fingers on top rather than their hand just underneath. But I remember my whole childhood. We want to grab the ball on top and then we want to have a cobra in the back. Like, is that what really happens? I think we need to be critical of like what actually happens and make sure, as you said, we're not coaching their natural movements and their fastest way to do something out of them.
The transfer, I have done a lot of work on the transfer lately in terms of thinking about this, and it was just that thought of the palm up, where it's like I knew that was what was happening, but I didn't ever really want to train it with guys because I felt like it would like promote that like downward swing of the arm and like
Hmm.
they'd lose the strength of the ball, right? And then I started like thinking about it. I'm doing some other drills, and it's like the reality is most of the throws that we're gonna actually have a chance on are above our glove. So it's like
Hmm.
if we're thinking about that position, and again, I'm at fault too of like at teaching that is like now it's like, well, if I'm this pitch is here and I'm going this way, I got to create some more time and space, and then that transfer gets up and back and behind me, and
Hmm.
now I'm like literally having guys right here just boom like there, and it's like they're all like holy shit, and I'm like yeah dude, like half the guys I've had forever, I'm like my bad dude, like like I'm learning along with you, right? Like where I'm gonna adjust with you, and I tell that to a lot of guys I have for a long time because everything we change and evolve, but now I'm just like man, like the way that they get separated so much faster because the ball's in their hand, it's insane, dude. I think
Yeah.
that's been eye opening for me for sure.
Well, first of all, props to you for being vulnerable and learning and opening up to your guys and being willing to try new things. The thing that perplexed me when I took the deep dive into throwing this off season was how fast the transfer happens. We know the time, but like, our transfer is happening while the back foot is still in the air or just touching down. That is really fast.
Mm-hmm.
And, we're doing all these things in under the ball is getting to the base, we hope in 2 seconds or under. And we're putting a lot of things into this very small period of time. Excuse me. It's like, how do we expect them to organize all of this and do it perfect every time? I think Patrick Bailey's a huge example. He's throwing from here, he's throwing from here, he's throwing, on a pivot, on a normal footwork, just like he's an athlete. And
Yep.
it paid off for him this year.
If you enjoyed that, be sure to like and subscribe. We'll have a new episode for you every single Tuesday here on our YouTube channel and wherever you listen to podcasts.